Welcome back to the Torque Test channel. This is episode 3 of our air hammer test series. We're excited to bring you this one, and we had a lot of fun making it. In order to sort of leapfrog into the high power, long barrel air hammers that we're after as quick as possible on this channel, we're doing sort of a one and done episode on short barrel air hammers, the budget friendliest air hammer category for sure. They won't be busting any ball joints free, but the amount of people purchasing these things is crazy high, so it's worth having a video out there showing their actual power potential and revealing the few that are absolute garbage. Our method was to sort of pick the best selling or most affordable short barrel air hammers from a list of retailers. That includes, in order of price, this Campbell Hausfeld AT100,000 from Walmart sold for as low as $4. Yes, we're serious, $4. The closest Walmart that had one of these in stock from us was about 50 miles away, so we went with the high dollar option and ordered this 1 5/8 inch stroke air hammer from walmart.com for $20 shipped because, well, we're ballers like that. But you can find them for $4 sometimes in store, no joke. Our next air hammer is the Harbor Freight short barrel. On our last episode, the medium barrel air hammer from Harbor Freight actually took the top spot on our chart so far, so we couldn't miss an opportunity for another go in this category with Harbor Freight. We spent a whole $12.99 on this one, and you'll find out today if it's worth the cost of lunch for you to pick up one too. Next up in price is a whole double that of the Harbor Freight, the $26 Dynamic Power, or DP as we like to call it on our channel. We're no stranger to DP, as many of you know. We filmed our last DP session with their first product on the channel, and let's just say that our first experience with it left us wondering if we'd ever try DP out again. When we're talking the tools we're used to working with on the channel, DP can be regularly found around the bottom, if we're honest. So today we're definitely going to be wearing some protection as we don't know what to expect. It could be unadulterated hammering, which is sort of what we paid for, or really just disappointment and shame like last time. Fingers crossed. Believe it or not, next up in price is from Wish.com. Yes, the smartphone app retailer that even Alibaba Express snickers about behind its back. Instead of the normal Gucci slippers and male member growth supplements we're normally fishing for on the site, we decided to find the cheapest air hammer we could find, which happened to be this one. Not only is it not at all cheap, being $40 with shipping, but it came with a brand actually tied to it, ATD. The brandless no-name ones were actually higher priced on the site. Like most of the hammers today, this one comes with a small assortment of bits, except in this case these bits have flats like they're hex shaped or something, maybe to keep them from spinning during use. The last most expensive model we're testing today is from Home Depot. This is a $50 Dewalt DWM T70785. We suspect this is a licensed product, something that they're selling the rights to use the name on, but we're just sort of guessing there. We'll see today if it holds up to that Dewalt name and comes with power and features to justify this handsome price of $50. This trigger is quite funky though. It's sort of like a switch from a power tool rather than a lever throttle. It feels very odd. We could get into the features and specs on all these, but have a feeling that few people are shopping for these based on pure specifications. They're just looking for a decently priced effective tool, which we're able to determine today on the dynos. So suffice to say that they all have basically the same stroke except for the Dewalt, which is 2 5/8, which is sort of a more like a medium barrel dimension, but this is definitely not a medium barrel air hammer. Let's get into that. We'll be testing these in order of their lowest price to highest. So that's the Campbell Hausfeld up first. You'll notice on these tests we're using a quick change chuck, which none of them came with. This is just for our own convenience for moving and switching bits around. When an air hammer is up against something and hammering, it doesn't actually even use the chuck. The chuck is just there to catch the bit when you sort of come off of something. It doesn't make much of a difference in our case. It's just so that you're not coming off of something and that bit go flying off into your coworker's head. This is our max power run, which is 90 psi in the tool while running. As a reminder, with all the tests on this channel, we do 3 tests and show you the median and result on screen. That's 1510. Now, is that good? We have no idea. Let's see how the Harbor Freight does in this next test. 1344, a bit down from the Walmart special in this case. That was actually surprising to us. Now let's see some work-safe DP action. Ours required some finessing to get her wide open and ready for business. Should really use more lube when working with one of these. Rookie mistake. So that's 1592, we'll take it. You'll definitely have your hands full dealing with one of these for how short it is, but it's definitely not without thrust. We should have known that when this product had actual features on the webpage instead of wine aerator marketing in the home and kitchen section, that this would mean business. Up next is the ATD from wish.com, but right away we hit a snag. The bits it comes with do not work in the tool, like no matter how you orient them. Hex shank bits, but not a hex shank air hammer in this case. Oh well, we'll use our standard Ajax 401 bits that are flat on the end anyways. And let's see that. So this just would not make power. The bit was not sitting all the way into the tool, so we found another bit from one of the other kits and cut that down so that we could somehow use it in some fashion. Honestly, we could never get this thing to work right or make any real power, and unfortunately the ATD air hammer could no longer be reached for questioning after this, so it's out of the race from the start. Somehow Wish.com sprinkled their special garbage sauce on an actual US brand, but this shipped directly from Medco, the tool distributor, and it's not an overseas source. Last up, and hopefully redeeming this higher price end of the spectrum with some beans, is the Dewalt. Let's see it. That trigger is sort of putting us off though. $1,093, well that's not a great start. Somehow the most expensive, longest stroke, most like a brand we're used to seeing air hammer made the least amount of beans. So far at least. We're not sure what's going on here, but we do have 2 more tests to go, so let's see. Our next test is called minimum power. This is the amount of power you can get from teasing the trigger, sort of the lowest that you're trying to get from the tool. The better the trigger control, the lower that power figure, which is what we're after. Here's the Campbell. $387, that seems low, and it is. Check this out. You can actually pull this out with your hand at this PSI level, but it is a short barrel air hammer. Maybe that's just the case with these things. Here's both the Harbor Freight and the DP on screen because they both perform similarly here, and really the DP prefers to perform in groups anyways. Remember, lower is better here. That's 806 and 851, double that of the Campbell. Definitely the tool for doing precise work on that Campbell. Skipping over the dumpster fire ATD, let's check out the Dewalt, which is, well, it has that interesting trigger, so this should be similarly interesting. $1,111. Finally, the Dewalt comes out ahead. Oh, right. This is actually, we're looking for the lowest here. That's not good. Made more than its last run at the same pressure. We tried to tease the trigger for a minimum power here and actually got a couple extra beans. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Our best case scenario test at higher line pressure is the last chance for this longer stroke, heavier, more expensive Dewalt to make an impression on this freshman class of crude back massagers. Here's the most bargain bin of the bunch up first. $1,711, that's certainly up from its max run of $1,510, but not night and day. Here's a Harbor Freight short barrel. $1,481, it's an even smaller increase over that max run of $1,344 than the Campbell, a 140 bump versus 200. Next up is the DP. We're hoping this one can really ram it in there with the best of them, you know? Let's see how it does. $1,995. And look at that DP's performance on the bottom. This thing will really surprise you if you're not ready for it. Make sure everyone involved knows what you're about to do when you go to work with this one. Last up is the Dewalt, which up till now has been more of like a Dewalt? Why does it even... Here's its best run. $1,199, but a nice spread between each tool, making for a great finale. So we have Dewalt to thank for that. But just check out the 3 runs of this Dewalt separated by colors here. This tool sort of just does what it wants to and makes what it wants to make, trigger or air pressure be damned. And what it does make in every run is the least power on the day. Its 2 5/8 inch stroke when you're using the gun feels more like it's using 1 inch of that. What was definitely working with more than 1 inch today was the DP. This thing has been relegated to the bottom on our channel since its first showing, but today it's definitely a top. We have no idea if your experience with DP will be the same as ours. It might not always be worth the trouble, but it seems like the potential for a good time is there for sure. That said, let's remember we're talking short barrel air hammers today. Check these out compared to the IR medium barrel. None of these are really a powerhouse, but let's see if our rank list agrees with this sort of gap when you consider all of the facts. For now, they sit here. The ATD gets bottom honors with a big fat DNF. Here's the minimum power run, max BCS, and that BCS is turned into actual estimated force in pounds as well in this column. Their power runs get turned into points, thus so, with the BCS runs being heavier weighted because in our air hammer series we're mainly after peak power for better or worse. If you take the max power figure and minus the minimum, that leaves you with the power range from each of these tools from working that trigger. The Campbell provides a very wide range, so that gets a 22.5, the Harbor Freight much less so, getting 9.9, then 15.7 for DP, and for the Dewalt, well, it had a more powerful run when trying to minimize power, so somehow that was possible, and it gets a big fat goose egg as a result. Power per inch is something that Campbell brings as well, being the smallest model here, and it gets a 42.8, then 39.6, and 44.1 for the DP, due to it making more oomph. The Dewalt gets dinged here for being longer and yet making less power. We ended up paying $20 for the Campbell here. I think a $4 tool would probably mess up our entire math metric in general, but it still gets high marks with 36.8, then 49, then 33, and finally 10.3 for the $50 tool. That totals 288.1, 252.8, and 309, and 160. Placing the DP into 3rd place overall and 1st in our short barrel air hammer test series, followed by the Campbell. A bit of reverse logic for the results on the day. It almost seems like with the less you pay, the more performance you get in this category. The 2 highest priced tools on the day did very poorly in our opinion, and honestly when you can find the Campbell Hausfeld for $4, that probably just wins everything. But for how we bought them, the DP came really everywhere out ahead. And it's hard to be mad after a performance like that. Thanks for watching. We had a lot of fun making this one for some reason. More air hammers that actually make the beans coming soon.